is the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the streets of the unseen business. And he's on his way home, got off his unicycle, doesn't need a bicycle, doesn't have, arms. And Rhea, his girlfriend, has gotten a new welcome mat because Tommy kept chewing up the old one. Yeah, he'd look out, he'd see somebody he didn't like, so he'd stick his head through the doggy door and grab that mat and pull it in. So she got herself a new welcome mat, and Tommy, walks on up and he's about to duck down and go through the doggy door because, easier than getting the key out. And Lefty, the left arm, has jumped off. Glued, put glue all over the welcome mat, the new welcome mat, and Tommy's stuck there. And not only that, Rhea's going to be mad as anything, and she sees just his loafers there. He had to pull out and go inside. Not going to be a good night at Tommy's. Leah is called in on her day off. And Mia explains, don't knock on Tommy's door. He's in the doghouse. That's why we all got to work overtime. Yeah, it was Saturday night, and Rhea did her wifely duty. Picked Tommy's nose, and in the middle of it, he called out Lou's name. Lou is the female Oriental nose picker. They've got that problem, the whole Oriental set. And she's also working overtime too. Tommy called out her name, and he could actually see the smoke coming up from Rhea's head. He's in the doghouse over nose picking. Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fellow, manager of the streets of the unseen business, has just gotten home. He's also a Mormon cult pervert missionary. The ones casing your cities, your neighborhoods, when the only ones home are the kids after school. And Tommy has gotten back to Rhea, and she's been, watching the soap operas, getting caught up on them. She records them. And Tommy's acting funny. He's, walking around kind of staggering. She wonders if he's been drinking, and he says, no, they gave us earplugs because the grannies we've been casing, they started putting horns underneath their couches and honking, and they put the earplugs in to counteract that. And yeah, they read lips. But one of the grannies had a semi-horn. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fellow. Lost both his arms, but got a promotion. The wood chipper incident. He's bossing a whole lot of folks around on the streets in the unseen business. And he's having a nightmare. Rhea comes running into the bedroom, his girlfriend, and asks, what's the matter, Tommy? And Tommy explains the dream once she untangles him from the sheets there, and he says it was from before Tommy's time, but back in the 60s, give or take, he was in charge of taking a cowardly Hussein son of Osama bin Laden, who had grown up in Africa to be closer to his dad during those formative years. He was in charge of taking him to Hawaii, and as Chinese stuff will go, he had to take the exact flight plan that the Japanese had taken. And Tommy explains he dropped him off. He was on his way back to China, and yeah, he had the engine trouble. He had to jump out, and he was caught in the sheets as well as, in the ocean. So Leo and Earl are sitting in a bar, and Earl says, I don't know what I'm going to do. Those Mormon cult perverts are casing my neighborhood. My kids are home after school. No one else. I've talked to the mayor. I've talked to the cops. They can't do anything about it. And Leo says you should pickup truck him. Stone Cold's pickup truck. And so the next day, as they're casing the empty neighborhood in their gray car, and often will have a bike rack on the back so they can cover more ground. They park in front, they park behind, and just behind. And when the Mormon cult perverts get back to their car, they tell them, yeah, the parents want to have a talk with you about when they get home from work. They want to have a talk with you about casing their kids. Tami is the no-armed manager of the Chinese streets, the unseen business. And he has called in Malika, full garb, Middle Eastern garb, clothes. And he explains to the rest of his staff that Malika will be handling the calls to Michael Moore's LAPD, as well as California and Utah's tourism numbers. And Leah says, why will she do that? And Tami says, well, they want them to see this is what they're going to get. California cops character. Call up. That's what they're going to get instead of police service when they call, so they want to tell them not to come to California. I'm Melton, son of Carpenter Mary, and that's what I've been getting several times as a LAPD is an active part in America's hijacked lifelines. Call them up 24/7, do some intel for America, find out what else they are a part of that is compromising the security of America. 24/7, at home, at work, when they're doing the drugs, when they are doing that other illegal activity other than hijacking America's lifelines and being thugs behind badges. Tami is the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the streets of the unseen business, and Wu, his boss, caught him and his mistress cheating on his girlfriend Ria with his mistress, who's Oriental and likes to pick her nose as much as Tami does. Wu caught them picking their nose in the office. And he said, what would happen if somebody walked in and saw you? They think that all Oriental folks pick their noses. Oh, they do. You ever seen them in a restaurant? Public place? You know. So he sent them to Nose Pickers Anonymous, and Sony is kind of leading the group there. And he itches his nose every once in a while. He talks about boogers a lot, and Tami just has to do it. He picks that foot out of that loafer, and he picks that nose and with his toes, and yeah. Wu's not gonna like hearing about that. Tami, the no-armed Chinese fella, was told by his boss to spend more time with his employees away from work. So he took them out to this fancy Chinese restaurant for lunch, because he's going to make them pay the bill. And the busboy comes over to the waitress right near them, and he kind of farts that funny language of theirs, and both of them start laughing, and Tami starts laughing, and Leah says, what'd he say? And Tami tells them, well, they overheard the guests there, the patrons, talking about how that rumor about Orientals eating cats and dogs, and they thought it was appalling. And he said, where do you think we get half our meat from? The alleyway. Tami is the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the streets of the unseen business. That's how he lost his arms. And he's going to visit his dad in hell on earth, a mean place. And his dad's missing his arms and his legs. He brings him some cat. He knows his dad, like him, Orientals love the cats and the dogs, no, not as pets, as dinner. And as he's leaving, head over, calls to him from the next room. He said, "Can you please give me a push? I'm a little weak today." And he explains as Tommy pushes him, he's hanging by his balls of steel with no arms and no legs. And he explains that he used to be just like Tommy. Never time to enjoy that sunset, but as he swings all the way over to the window, he looks out and he sees that sunset. And Rhea tells him later on, "You know, Tommy, it's about time for the sunset," after he tells her that story. And he says, "Yeah, too bad. The Stooges are on." Al and Rita, two concerned Americans, have been calling all Mormons, all Muslims, all Chinese, all AT&T employees on their days off, the weekend, and trying to call me with them on speakerphone, being a little mean, asking them, "What's your part?" Doing a little intel for America. What's your part in America's high-tech lifelines, and what else are you involved in? And Rita says, "Al, I know what's wrong. It's Sunday. That's why they're not answering. The devil insists that they spend 3 long hours worshiping him and his lies, the Mormon cult." And the phone's ringing in his hand, and it's ringing at that house as Billy, little kid, is tied to a chair, gagged. He gets the gag out. He bounces on over to answer the phone, and he says, "Help!" And Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fellow, runs over. He's been watching the house for them, and he quickly hangs up, picks it up with his mouth and hangs up. Make that video of your hijack call to me, and when you see those Mormon cult perverts, a case in your neighborhood when the only ones home are your kids after school, call them on that, and yes, honk at them to let them know the Lord, America, is keeping an eye on dangerous folks actively involved in compromising our security as a nation, as families, as Billy. He is the no-armed Chinese fellow, manager of the Streets the Unseen business, and Wu, his boss, who, yes, told him to stick his right arm into a wood chipper, and he's always been blindly obedient. He did that, and Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off. And Wu has stopped by. Tommy's working late. And he says, "Tommy, what's this I hear about Rhea picking your nose?" "Yeah, Tommy's working late. He's in the doghouse because Rhea, his girlfriend, was doing that wifely or girlfriendly weekend, Saturday thing of picking his nose, and he called out Lou, his female nose picker, anonymous mistress, and he got him in the doghouse with Rhea, and now Wu as well, because he doesn't like, that's the reason he's in Nose Pickers Anonymous. Wu doesn't like, he sees them all the time in restaurants, his own Oriental folks, and he doesn't like it getting around that they pick their nose. Oh, we all know. It's okay. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella, and he is also a Mormon cult pervert, missionary. And he and Jim J and Charlie M were all getting ready to go out and case some neighborhoods when the only ones home are the kids after school, and they stopped by Mama Melanie Alibis, where they're staying. She welcomes wave after wave of Mormon missionaries through the years, and of course provides an alibi for them if they get into trouble. And she says, "I've been getting a whole lot of watch, call, Mormon, Muslim, and AT&T and Chinese calls, so you be careful, you keep it in your pants as you're casing today." Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fellow. No arms at all. His boss, Wu, told him to stick his right arm into a wood chipper, and he did that. Blindly obedient. And Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving him with no arms but promotion. He's bossing a whole lot of folks around on the streets, the unseen business. But it's his and Rhea's day off, and Rhea has just gotten home with a hula hoop. And she says, oh, I used to be really good at this. And yeah, she does a little hula hooping, and Tommy wants to try it, and he does it too hard, and he doesn't have the arms to hold it down, and it goes right off his head. And he has to go over and get it, pick it up with his mouth, start it swinging again, and then it does the same thing, goes flying off over its head. And yeah, he gets angry, and oh, the good thing, Lefty knows exactly how to hula hoop. He's very good at it. Puts it on his YouTube. Tommy is the no-arm Chinese fella. How'd he get to be missing both arms? His boss, Wu, told him to stick his right arm in the wood chipper. And he's Oriental. He's always been blindly obedient, so he did that. Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving Tommy with no arms but a promotion. This isn't occurring at work. He has ridden his unicycle home, didn't need a bicycle. He's got, no arms. He's got very good balance, though. And he got out and he sees Gladys next door. And yeah, he's been told by Rhea he can't just crawl through the doggy door. People are talking about it. So he takes his, kicks off his loafer, reaches in his pocket, takes out the key, opens it up, and goes inside. Tommy, the no-arm Chinese fella, is at his AA meeting at the bar. Yeah, Amputees Anonymous. And everybody's gone home except for Al, the bartender. Juanita, the no-armed gal who went in for the boob job, and yeah, they took the arms off instead. So she tells them all the gals, write down on the arms, do not take these off. On the boobs, right, make these bigger. And yes, she got that big lawsuit kind of thing, and she got the really extra large boobs. And so she needs her backpack on when she's walking to kind of even things out. And Tommy is trying to help her put it on. And if you've ever seen two drunk, no-armed folks trying to put on a backpack, it's a sight to behold, and it makes Rhea real angry when she comes in to find out where Tommy's at. He's going to be sleeping in the doghouse tonight. Is on an important mission. He goes over to a Saudi Arabian embassy, Middle Eastern embassy. I've heard that Iran and Iraq mentioned, and he got a whole bunch of, I'm told, related to Osama bin Laden, and they've been in and out of around here, hijacking my computer. And yeah, I called up the cops about the noise again, and they got it on that first ring, but they still don't know how to get into a building. So that's them. And Tommy's going to watch them swinging as Muslim cult princesses, missing something in that bed sheet pinned up so you can see their Osama face swinging permanently. Welcome. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the streets, the unseen business. And the Orientals love the cats and the dogs, no, not as pets, as dinner. And he's gotten a call from Rhea. She's got a new recipe, and he's in a hurry to get home, but his unicycle has a flat tire, doesn't need a bicycle, no arms. So he grabs Leah's skateboard, and she says, do you know how to use that, Tommy? And Tommy says, oh yeah, back in China. Growing up, I was always on a skateboard. Yeah, the trouble is he had arms back then. And he falls down quite a bit, no balance, not as good a balance, and by the time he finally gets there, he's a little punchy. He thinks he's back in China with his dad. His dad would say, son, what do you say when you get home? And he says, open sesame, and the garage door opens. And Tommy says that and it doesn't, and yeah, it's splat. Tommy thought it was a good thing. This college girl met him on the way out of the office to get on his unicycle and go home. Yet Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella, and as you know, they like cats and dogs. No, not as pets, as dinner, and the college girl told him she was going to have to move in to a new apartment and was going to have to give up her cat. So she got his phone number so that she could call him up when that happened, and he told her he'd give the cat a good home. Yeah, his belly. But it turned out to be a Mormon, Muslim, Chinese AT&T watch call list, and the college guy that called him up got him to spill his guts about everything. Got Wu's number, got that Graham project from the AT&T folks. He got a whole lot of stuff. Had Tommy yelling and screaming for a good reason, good cause. Find out what else they're involved in besides high-taking your call to me for over a decade. Do that. A bird is looking for a worm on the grass, and a cat stealthily creeps up behind the bird, and Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, creeps up behind the cat, and he pounces. Yeah, he lost his arms in a wood chipper incident. He pounces, he grabs that cat with his mouth, picks it up, he's going to take it home, and there's a little girl right behind him. She says, "What are you doing with my kitty?" And Tommy's, kind of muffled because he's got the cat tail in his mouth. He says, "I'm going to take her home for supper." And he's got a tear rolling down his face. He feels bad about it. And the little girl calls after him as he runs off and says she likes a big bowl of milk for supper. The no-armed Chinese fella, and he's at his AA meeting at the bar, Amputees Anonymous. He's talking to Al afterwards, the bartender, and he tells him all about his bad day. He's also a Mormon cult pervert. Yeah, you know the Mormon cult pervert missionaries. They case your neighborhoods when the only ones home are your kids after school. And Jim J. and Charlie M. are missionaries, Mormon cult pervert missionaries with Tommy, and they entrusted him with the big computer phone book of the entire LDS, Utah's Mormon cult perverts. And someone called up and asked Tommy for it, and he gave it to him. And yes, it's the Mormon AT&T Chinese Muslim watch call list, folks, and they've been calling all day long. So Tommy's in the doghouse with the Mormon cult perverts. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella. He was told by his boss, Wu, to stick his right arm into a wood chipper. He did that. And Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving him with no arms but a promotion. And he also met his girlfriend, Rhea, at the snake pit, doing his snake dance. He does real well now, missing his arms. And when they first moved in together, she noticed Tommy would make a mess in the bathroom with the shower. He can only use his mouth or his leg, his foot to, wash stuff off with the faucet. And yes, she had to talk to her cousin who runs a car wash, and he hooked him up with a nice big kind of car wash kind of set. And yeah, they put in a new faucet today. I can't wait to try it out. Dad says I got to be clean if I want to sit next to it. It's a command, so I got to listen to Dad. So Tommy, the no arms at all, Oriental fellow, works as manager for the Streets, the Unseen Business, He's not home. His girlfriend Rhea is worried. She calls up Leah. Leah says, yeah, we all left hours ago. And Rhea gets in the car, drives down to the office, and yes, there's Tommy leaning up against the parking meter. He had watched the Stooge-a-thon the night before. She told him not to, and he went to work, and he's so tired he fell asleep. And he has this bad cough the next day, and so she insists he go to the hospital. They take the x-ray, and yes, he's got coins in his stomach. And Tommy says that explains that weird dream of being a parking meter. A college girl approached Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, as he was going home after work, about to get on his unicycle. Yes, Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, manager of the streets, the unseen business. You know the Orientals love the cats and the dogs, known not as pets, as dinner. And she told him she was going to have to give up her cat because she's moving to a new apartment. And Tommy promised to give the cat a good home and gave her his phone number. Yeah, the good home is his belly. Rhea's going to cook it up. But anyway, it turned out that, it was part of the Mormon, Muslim, Chinese, AT&T watch call list. The college crowd called him up, got him angry as anything, got him to tell Wu's number, got him to tell all kinds of secrets, got him yelling and screaming, and handed off his number to the next guy for tomorrow. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella in this parable video series, and he's also a Mormon cult pervert that cases your neighborhood when the only ones home are the kids after school. So Tommy, where my Fun Street Fixing ends and the military pit bull projects, Mormon, AT&T, Muslim, Chinese watch call list picks up, he gets asked twice as much because he's Chinese and he's a Mormon cult pervert. And all day long, at home, at work, folks have been saying, can I have a minute of your time to talk about your cult's active part in America's hijacked lifelines and casing neighborhoods when the only ones home are the kids? And Tommy gets so angry after having so many folks ask that he kicks off his loafers and he pulls out his hair, at least on as far as he can reach. So he ends up with, another mohawk. Tommy, the no-armed manager of the street, the unseen business, it's his day off, but he's got his employees working hard. And they go into Tommy's office, they need something off of his computer, they turn it on, and he's been watching Oriental porn. Yeah, it's a couple of twins, and I know what you're thinking, they're like a billion sets of twins from the Orient, but no, these are actual twins, and they're feeding a guy, an Oriental guy, cat. You know, they love the cats and dogs, not as pets, as dinner, and they're also, picking each nostril. They're big nose pickers if you see them in person in restaurants. And yeah, it doesn't end good. He suffocates. They have to call the ambulance, both nostrils and mouth breathing, but he is eating the cat. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fellow told by his boss Wu to stick his right arm into the wood chipper. He did that, and Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving him with no arms but a promotion. He's bossing a whole lot of folks around on the streets in the unseen business, but this is occurring at his AA meeting at the bar. Yeah, Amputees Anonymous. And everybody's gone home, and it's just Tommy, Juanita, the no-armed gal, who he had went in for the boob job and they took the arms off, so she tells all the girls, write down when you go in for that, do not take these off, make these bigger. And yeah, she has a problem because she got the really big size after the malpractice kind of thing. And she and Tommy are trying to get that backpack ballast kind of thing on, because I was busy closing up the bar. And if you've ever seen two drunk, no armed people trying to put on a backpack, it's a sight to see. And yes, Rhea happens in, wondering why he's not home, and he's gonna be sleeping in the doghouse tonight. Just put up my latest dailies for May. Check them out. YouTube.com/DNFTC. Son of Carter Mary. This is my new Tommy image. Just designed it today. Tommy's no-armed Chinese fella. Was told by his boss Boo to stick his right arm into a wood chipper. He blindly obeyed. And Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off. Well, let me show you the Old English font. And Tommy's also a Mormon cult pervert, case in neighborhoods. And someone has parked a pickup truck in front of and the pickup truck behind. Tommy is explaining he's up a tree. And apparently his Mormon cult pervert missionaries weren't able to climb as well as he could, missing his arms. And he tells Rhea he's going to be a little late because the two truck drivers wanted the parents to have a word with these Mormon cult perverts. You should too. That's a good thing to do. It will get them to write you off their sales route. Remember to call 24/7, 365. All Mormon cult members, especially the genealogy librarians, and ask them why they are an active part in America's hijacked lifelines. 24/7, 365. Park your noisemakers outside their homes. Get them to talk about what else Utah is planning with their Saudi Arabia Mormon occult brothers. Are they planning another 9/11 from Saudi Arabia through Utah? Or are they just hijacking America's lifelines for the hell of it? Pick up your phone right now to see that. 424-229-4140. Make a video, post a video. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fella. Was told by his boss Boo to stick his right arm into a wood chipper. He did that. Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving Tommy with no arms but a promotion. And it's after work, and he's at his AA meeting at the bar. Amputees Anonymous. And he'd had a rough day. Wu was having him do 1,000 things, and he's had a few, so the first few times he thought he thought he was just tired. And then Juanita said to the newest member of the AA meeting at the bar, "Is that a hummingbird going in and out of your nose?" Well, it's not her nose, she's an amputee. And she says yes, they will set up shop in there. Tommy, the no-armed Chinese fella, is a manager in the Streets the Unseen Business. And the Streets the Unseen Business have been around for many, many millennia. And Tommy has drifted off to sleep. Instead of getting on his unicycle and going into work. And he has a dream about him. Years ago, in the neighboring village, here's this loud horn kind of warning, and they see a whole bunch of Chinese kind of running, and they go to find out what's there. And yeah, it's Tommy, and this snake crawling out of his lab. He created the snake. And yeah, he's going to get up, he's going to be late for work. It's another one of my, yes. Oh my God, what hath the Chinese, the source of all evil, done? Well, this is my latest Tami. Image, I'm Melton, son of a carpenter, married dad a carpenter, worked on skyscrapers. Mom Marianne. I'm the son of a carpenter, I get to tell parables. I get to tell you about your high-tech lifelines. And folks actively involved in that. Get to tell you about my change and I, doing a little genetic carpentry as son of carpenter Mary. And I never really got to do a latest. I use this in my Tami, and I make Tami minutes. Usually, every once in a while I'll miss a day, but this has got my hell on earth stuff. Yes, the stigmata wound in the palms, stigmata eye growing anew in the palm. Yeah, it used to be all dark brown, slowly but surely changing them to blue. Check it out. YouTube.com/DNFD series is the YouTube I'm using fairly often recently. I've also got YouTube.com/MELTON4 imagery, and DAFFODILIA over there is my portfolio site where I put my latest. Check it out. And yes, make that video of your hijack call to me right now. Time and date in your video. Your family's lifeline being hijacked, and folks worried enough about getting their hands bloody to do that, altering phone records to cover it up. It's easy to get AT&T's phone gate on video. Do that. And enjoy my fun street unseen business stuff. It all ends when you pick up the phone and can't reach me. Document that. Tami is a no-arm Chinese fellow. He was told by his boss, Wu, to stick his right arm into a wood chipper, and he did that. And Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving Tami with no arms. But the promotions boss and a whole lot of folks around in the unseen business, on the streets, whatever you call it. And as part of that, he's been told by Wu to suppress the Tami parable series. So if you've have missed out on some of these videos from January and February 2019, look for them at your better bars, parties, and military bases, college campuses, and churches. You don't have all of these? Yeah, that means the one you're missing is good. Tami was called up by Wu, no, not on the phone, he yelled from 6 blocks away in Chinatown. You're getting it all over the place. Yeah, he hit the wrong button on the computer. So, yeah, look for Tami's parable videos, and I'll get to work getting the next set of titles the past couple months on my Tami parable series. I'm working on a new image for Tami. Come see me in person to be in the son of a carpenter Mary's parable videos when you see someone besides me in my videos. We have started to build Jesus' Immaculate House, those 1,000 points of light. Be a part of that today. Try to call me, see the devil stealing your call. Make a video of that. It's lifeline censorship, and come see me in person. Be in Melton's videos and imagery. See that helicopter? 9/11, Flight 93, check and post in 5. Got the time on your phone, you got the number dialed. You got AT&T's bloody hands, not one Flight 93 in a decade of passing. Tami is the no-armed Chinese fella. His boss, Wu, gave him a test of loyalty. Told him to stick his right arm into a wood chipper. Tami did that. And Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving Tommy with no arms but promotion. He's bossing a whole lot of folks around, and Wu caught Tommy and his girlfriend, his mistress, Lou, a-picking their nose in the office. They've got the problem as those Oriental folks. And he sent them to a nose-picking anonymous to break him of the habit, because he's worried about people talking about it. And Sony is the leader of the nose-picking kind of thing there, the Nose Pickers Anonymous. And he's doing what he does. He kind of itches that nose, and he talks about boogers and how it's important not to pick them. And Tommy's foot, his nose twitches, and every time that Sony itches that nose, you know what he wants to do. He kicks off that loafer, and there goes that toe up in that nose. He's picking his nose with his toes. Yeah, Wu's not gonna like hearing about that. Bird imagery for today on my chest. And yes, the funny Tommy parable. Oh, I'm trying to lose these like a bad habit. Yesterday were Tommy the no-arm Chinese fellow. They're Oriental and they love the cats and the dogs. No, not as pets, as dinner. And he was sneaking up behind a cat that was sneaking up behind a bird, and he grabbed the bird and he grabbed the cat. And he turned around, and there was this little girl asking what happened. What are you doing with my kitty? And a tear rolled down Tommy's cheek. He was feeling bad about it, but he was hungry, so he's muffled, kind of said he got that cat in his mouth. He's a no-arm Chinese fellow. Kind of muffled, he said, I'm taking your kitty home for supper. And he just turned and ran, cattail in hand, scratching up his belly. And the little girl called after him. Oh, she likes a big bowl of milk for supper. Yes, he's going to be really disappointed. That's the Orientals for you. Heartless. That's the reason they're on that Mormon, Muslim, Chinese. Very seriously, guys. Not one. Flight 93 checking over a decade and always around me. Chinese, AT&T, bought Spectrum next door. Or ask the man in the wheelchair. Come see me in person. Tell me all about that perfect place to build Jesus' immaculate house here on earth. And yeah, be careful when you check that box. Go by your income. If it's below a certain point, and your insurance. If you don't have much insurance, you check that organ donor box, and yes, you're not going to be the recipient if some rich guy needs your heart. Tommy could use a heart. He's heartless with that cat and that poor little girl. End of the day, and Tommy the no-arm Chinese fellow is on his way out, and Leah says, "Hey Tommy, Chang got the Lee video. You want to watch?" And Tommy says, "No, brings back too many painful memories." He goes out, gets on his unicycle to go home, and they watch the video, and it's about Lee, the guy with a Chinese guy with the military, and he's feeding his right arm into a wood chipper in slow motion in the video. I'm speeding it up here because Wu told him to, and the general yells over, "Hey, don't do that, Lee," of course in slow motion, and Lee says, "No, I must," and the left arm jumps off, and I can't stop until MELTON, Stone Cold MELTON, son of Carpenter Mary, has designed the Mormon, Muslim, AT&T, Chinese, watch call this. Tommy is a manager of the streets of the unseen business. These are my Tommy parable videos. I'm Melton, son of a carpenter. Mary, daddy carpenter, worked on skyscrapers. Mom, Mary Ann. I'm the son of a carpenter, Mary. I get to tell parables. I'm a little behind in my processing here, but if you have missed out on these, it's because Wu ordered Tommy to suppress the Tommy parable series about the no-armed Chinese fellow. And yes, some that have been held back, that would mean that they're much better. So if you see any of these you've missed, yeah, look for them at your better bars, parties, military bases, college campuses, and churches. And yeah, Tommy hit the wrong button. He sent those parables everywhere. And Wu called him up. No, not on the phone. 6 blocks away in Chinatown. He was angry as anything. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fellow who got a promotion being blindly obedient. He stuck his right arm into a wood chipper because his boss Wu told him to, and Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving him with no arms. But a promotion, he's bossing a whole lot of folks around. He's just got home from work. Got off that unicycle, doesn't need the bicycle, doesn't have 2 arms, and he looks over and he sees Gladys next door doing yard work. And Rhea won't let him go through the doggy door when Gladys is a-watching, so he goes around to the back and he climbs up this ladder. Hard thing to do with just, no arms, just 2 legs. Climbs up, jumps in the chimney. He figures he doesn't have any arms. He's not going to have a problem, but he gets stuck. He's been eating a lot of cat lately. And Rhea will be there to cuss him out when she gets home and help him out of that chimney. Is the no-armed Chinese fella. Yeah, his boss told him to stick his right arm into the wood chipper. He did that. He was blindly obedient, and Lefty, the left arm, wisely jumped off, leaving him with no arms. But a promotion. He's bossing a whole lot of folks around on the streets in the unseen business. But today's his day off, and he's watching television. Got some popcorn. He's got his feet kicked up. And only trouble is he keeps getting calls. And he's had it just about up to here because they keep parking noisemakers outside of his home. And he just cusses in Chinese. Have you ever heard somebody cussing in Chinese? It sounds like a whole bunch of farting. And yes, they're trying to get out of him what he knows about America's compromised security. Do that, guys. Call them up left and right and find out what else they're involved in. All of these folks. Mormons, Muslims, Chinese, AT&T. All active parts in America's hijacked lifelines around me. Remember to send those phones. Anything. If it's got my address on it and it's got a GPS, use it to find America's stolen mail warehouses. Be Geraldo. He's not doing his job. Tommy is the no-armed Chinese fellow. And he is also a Mormon cult pervert casing neighborhoods when the only ones home are the kids after school. And he was out casing, and a couple of pickup trucks parked in front of and behind. Just in front of and just behind Tommy and the other 2 Mormon cult pervert missionaries. And Tommy was able to run up the tree despite missing his arms. But the other 2 couldn't do it, and yes, they're waiting. The pickup trucks are letting the parents get home from work so that they can have a word with those Mormon cult perverts. You should do stuff like that too. Honk at those Mormons, let them know you're watching.